Everybody, and welcome to this week's Markets to Watch from Smack the Markets for week commencing the 15th of April. Now, this week is a holiday week for the markets. Many markets are sort of closed towards the end of the week for the Easter break. And we're starting off also with a fairly light sort of fundamental calendar with not a many news announcements sort of hitting the wires today. So let's go and take a look at some of the markets here that we're focusing on in the trading room through this shorter week. Now, if we come and take a look first of all at the S&Ps. So this week, our sort of preferred US index market is the S&P 500. This is the S&P futures contract. And just sort of taking a look at this from the higher time frames here, we can see that the markets had, as indeed all of the US indices, have had a very strong move. These trends and the market momentum certainly looking like the sort of highs up here of 29.50 certainly look to be on the cards. But is it going to get there this week? Well, taking a look at the sort of lower time frames here, if we come and take a look at the sort of daily time frame, we can see that the trend has been extremely strong, extremely sort of well structured with good geometry, and the sort of geometry that we like to look for trading opportunities in. At the moment, the market's sort of taken through this sort of level here at sort of 28.80 and sort of like halfway, or almost sort of halfway up towards this sort of 29.50 in this sort of trading window. Now, when we take a look at this, we've got several tests of this level in the past, and whilst this trend has been sort of grinding higher sort of quite nicely, we've had rather sort of a lack of continued highs in our sort of indicators here, sort of indicating that there's some sort of divergence, sort of weakening sort of coming in. Now, that doesn't mean to say that the market's going to roll over and change into a downtrend. It just means that looking at the sort of structure of the charts, looking at this sort of divergence, just means that it looks more probable that we might sort of look for some sort of pullback before the trend continues. Even if we come take a look at the 4-hour time frame as well, we can see that sort of evidence a little bit more here too. So there's some sort of flattening of the indicators. We've also got a bit of extension here. Certainly from a trade entry perspective, what I'm liking to see is a bit of a pullback here, maybe into these moving averages, looking for opportunities to be able to trade, get positioned to trade that long up towards that 29.50. Now, if the market does sort of pull back in or retrace, the question is, well, where could it come to? And for me, I always like the market to sort of come into levels. Back into levels where it sort of crosses over with geometry. That's sort of areas where I sort of look for opportunities, and I think many traders do too. Now, if we start to look here on the 4-hour time frame back into these highs where the market sort of tested a good 4 times before, that also happens to tie up with the nice round number here of 2,900. Also back into those moving averages as well. So if we do get a bit of retracement and a bit of softening here of the S&Ps, this is certainly an area where I'll be looking for support and looking at opportunities to be able to get sort of positioned for new long opportunities. So if we come and take a look at the commodities now, gold last week, as you probably recall, we had some nice opportunities on gold as the market sort of broke through the 1300 level and took that move, if we look at this on the daily, up towards 1315. So our ultimate target here was 1320. The market didn't quite get there, so 1315 was a level we had on the 4-hour time frame. So the market hit that, and now it's sort of ended the week back right into this comfort zone, back in between 1290 and 1300. Now it's right back in there now. So the start of last week, so the analysis from last week, a week ago, really sort of like comes back into play. We're stuck between this range. If the market can sort of take out the lower end of the range, we've got a nice trading window to the short side down to 1275. If it can take out the high end at 1300, we've got that sort of trading range right the way back up to 1315, which is now much more sort of clearly defined after last week as well. So again, with gold, just being a bit sort of patient here and waiting for the market to get out of this sort of no man's land sort of zone at the moment. Now, as far as currency markets are concerned, we've had a bit of a move on the euro. So let's come and have a look at the euro here. Now, euro dollar has managed to sort of strengthen here, and partly on the back of the weakening US dollar. Now, certainly from the higher time frame perspectives, if we look at this from a sort of a weekly chart, the market's still within a short trend here, and really that sort of trend doesn't sort of change until the market really sort of makes some significant, it's got some significant distance to the high side before that sort of trend changes on the weekly. However, when we start to come down to the sort of daily chart, we can see that here on the daily, the market's clearly bounced off 1.200, so lower prices from here is not on the cards at the moment, and these higher levels here around 1.2700 and 1.1300 have now been comfortably taken out. So market's in a nice sort of trading window back in here towards the long side. So we can start to look for where those levels may well be. Certainly at this moment in time, even if we start to look at sort of near-term moves, there's plenty of distance in price action above, or clear space above price action, up to probably around 113.50. Now, come down to the lower time frames, something like the 4-hour time frame, we can see that the market's sort of taking out these levels nicely. Trend structure's starting to look a lot more healthy as well, with some good market geometry and convergence. So possible moves up here to 113.50 looks sort of like, doesn't look like there's an awful lot in the way for resisting price moving in that direction. So we'll certainly be looking at long opportunities here on euro dollar on these intraday timeframes once the sort of market pulls back into value areas for entry opportunities. So there's a few markets there that we're keeping a close eye on for trading opportunities in the trading room at the start of this week. I certainly hope it helps and look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye for now.